Hello and welcome to Music Repo. On this channel, I am passionate about making home recording easy. I want to help you musicians, podcasters, streamers and video producers get up and running quickly with the right gear so you can get on and do your thing. And those of you who follow me will know I don't do complicated. So I was delighted to have a fantastic conversation with independent musician Lyns Crichton. She is a full-time musician who makes her living streaming, recording, and also helping other independent musicians develop their careers too. Lyns and I are right on the same page about having a no-nonsense approach to studio technology. In this interview, she told me a bit about her recording setup. It's super simple. And then about how she has made a full-time career as a musician, even during these very challenging times. I've put plenty of links to her channel and her social. If you love the sound of what she might be able to do to help you with your music business, then do follow her. Plus, she has a fabulous voice, so you should definitely go and listen to her songs. She is a brilliant singer, songwriter, guitarist, and all-round amazing person, so come and meet her. Today, I am delighted to welcome Lyns Crichton to my channel. Hello, Lynn.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, so well. I am so excited and delighted to be here and chat with you.
Brilliant. Yeah. Now, I'm really excited that you've come along because my channel is all about home recording for beginners. And you have done some lovely live streams and recordings. Basically, you're an independent singer, songwriter. Do you want to just tell people a little bit about what you do?
My name is Lyns Crichton. I am a proudly independent musician from near Nottingham in the UK. And yeah, I decided quite later in life that I wanted to be a musician. I was a secondary school teacher before, so it was a bit of a change of career. And I didn't have any contacts. I hadn't been to music school. I didn't know anything at all. And I often say when I do my live gigs that I genuinely, at the beginning, I kind of didn't even really know how to plug my instruments in to do gigs. Like it was like that. So I love what you do on your channel and championing independent musicians who just need to get going on how to record themselves, because I really did start from scratch.
Brilliant. What would be really good would be you've really mastered singing and playing guitar and streaming that and recording it. And so it'd be really useful to just hear a bit about the tech that you're using to do that, what kind of mic and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so my tech setup is really simple. I partly did that because I just thought I can't cope with all bells and whistles going on. I do sing and play guitar, and so a lot of the time my hands are taken up, when I'm playing, so I can't be thinking about the tech. I just need it to work. So simply put, when I am doing live streams, for example, it's a similar setup actually when I'm recording, but I have got one condenser mic. Originally I bought like an iTrack studio pack. So I basically have, and I can literally show you on camera, I have an iTrack. So it's just two inputs. So it's just got my mic in here, guitar goes in there. Sometimes I use a looper pedal. And that was the other thing as well, because I do like using looper pedal. I found that quite difficult to stream with good audio, given that we are musicians and audio is our product and we need that to sound as good as possible. Mm-hmm. I found it quite difficult to be able to create my own backing track with a looper pedal and have the sound good. So then that's when I invested just in the audio unit, making sure that I could connect it to the computer, obviously. And then when I started going live on various platforms like Facebook or whatever it was, I just couldn't crack the code. I couldn't understand why. From what I was hearing when I was playing, it was sounding great. I've got my mic, I've got my inputs, it's all good, I'm plugged in, it should be fine, the computer's picking it up, and it still sounds rubbish. And it took me a long time to realize that if you go live natively on certain platforms like Facebook, for example, then it kind of compresses audio and it just sounds horrible. So that's when I started to investigate OBS, the piece of software. And I did a YouTube video about it when I finally cracked it, because I thought, oh, got to help other independent musicians to know how to work.
I've watched that video. It's a really nice one. I really recommend it to people. You want to get onto OBS. We want to know what to plug in where and how to set the software up, because it's not a super nerdy video. It's just a really nice, aimed at a musician, not at a tech head. Because at the end of the day, in these very challenging times we find ourselves, suddenly people who are just guitarists and singers have got to master some of this quite complicated technology and get it, and like you say, getting it sounding nice.
Yeah, and I was bamboozled by tech. I've watched 1,000,001 YouTube videos, and there are people out there who are fantastic with the setup and the different, plugins, loopbacks, tech, whatever. And I just thought, you know what? If you just want to go live with good audio and you just need a simple how-to, that's what I needed. So that's kind of what I wanted to create.
Very good, very good. So you say you got a condenser mic, any particular kind?
Well, no. So it is. It's just the iTrack Studio. It's a CM25S. So it's just what came in the box. I'm touching it here, but you probably can't see it. It's just
okay.
Here.
Okay. So you literally bought one of those packs off Focusrite and put it together. Right. Brilliant. Yeah.
Just what I needed. I do now. A company reached out to me recently, so I will just mention that a company called FAVE have reached out to me because they wanted me to try out this, which is also a condenser mic, but it's a USB mic. So I'm actually quite intrigued, and I know you've got videos on your channel about this, but I'm quite intrigued at what the difference will be having a USB mic versus having like a plugged in mic, for live streaming versus recording in the home studio as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I've got videos on USB mics that lots of people love. They go, oh, thanks for doing this. And then you get people going, USB, you're not a proper musician and all. And I'm thinking, well, if you can get something that, at the end of the day, it's about your content. And if you can get something that works for you so you can do your thing, hey.
This is absolutely a message that I would give to your audience and any independent musicians out there, is that you can go down rabbit holes of tech talk and whatever for eternity. But if the technology is tripping you up, it is a barrier to you creating the next piece of content. So just get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more you do, the more comfortable you get with it, you can start upscaling a bit down the road. But if you don't ever start, you'll never do anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, brilliant. That is really interesting. Yes. So you're using OBS. You've got your recording pack that you've got all set up going through it. And do you use Restream? Because I know you've mentioned about it. Do you stream out to lots of different platforms at once?
Yeah. So part of the reason for that was I started, I don't know, 18 months ago, maybe, doing a weekly live stream because I wanted to, as a one-man band, as many independent musicians are, there's only so many hours in the day. Sure. And so going natively on all the different platforms to go and do a live stream and keep the audience on that platform, having new content and whatever, I just thought, this is ridiculous. I'm doing the same gig on different platforms. So when I found Restream, I was really happy. I tried quite a few different multicasting platforms out. And the reason why I like Restream so much is because I could very easily link it to OBS.
Right.
So I knew that the sound was going to be good. And the other thing is, I'm not a huge user of Facebook because I built up my audience, my tribe, on Twitter mainly. And so I needed to make sure I could go live on Twitter. I wanted to increase my YouTube channel. And so those two for me at the beginning were the two that I just kind of wanted to focus on. And I could do that on Restream without having to pay hefty monthly fees. So that's why I chose Restream. And, so far, I think it's been really good, really easy to use. And you can toggle them on, the platforms on and off. And I tried Twitch as well, just because I thought, well,
why not?
Yeah, why not? Because that's the thing about Restream, right? So you can link it up to platforms that you wouldn't usually, but I mean, why not try it and then see what sticks sometimes?
Sounds good. Yeah, brilliant. Right. So back to 2020 and 2021, disaster area for live people wanting to make their bread and butter out of gigging and, all things, live. You're managing to make a full-time living out of being an independent musician still. So what sort of things have you been up to that enabled you to carry on doing what you're passionate about?
So I think one of the key things for independent musicians, whether the live gigs were there or not, was streams of revenue, different streams of revenue. Now, way before the pandemic hit us, I had started to create different products in my business that a lot of them were digital or working remotely with my home studio doing X, Y, and Z. So for example, I will write personalized bespoke songs for people for birthdays and Valentine's Day, and all that kind of stuff. I will do Zoom, like virtual house concerts, but over Zoom, much thanks to your video, because knowing how to do the setup and things for musicians. I mean, that was fantastic when when you realize that you can get decent audio through something like Zoom as well, that opens quite a lot of doors. There's lots of platforms that are popping up where you can get paid to live stream as well. And so creating these different streams of revenue in your business was it was a game changer for me even before the pandemic. But since the pandemic, I would say I've added a few more strings to the bow. So for example, I'm a remote session musician as well, because I know how to use my home recording studio. So I will sing, or I will top line, or I will produce or mix or master other people's music and help out there. And you get paid for the privilege of doing it. So that's been super helpful as well.
Now, I think you've got a course coming up because you're anxious to help other people do this stuff as well. Do you want to tell me a bit about that?
So the course is called the Music Marketing Method. And it actually came out of the YouTube video that I did about OBS, because once that sort of caught fire, I started getting lots of views, which for my little channel was amazing. But I started getting a lot of people reaching out going, right, well, thanks so much for telling me about this, but I've noticed you've got a Twitter following. How did you do that? And how are you making money from your music? And getting lots of questions. And so I thought, I can answer all these DMs, and I definitely don't mind, but I'm finding I'm repeating myself a lot here. Mm-hmm. So how about I put it into a course? Now, there are 1,000,001 courses out there on this kind of stuff. And so I wanted to focus very much on the transformation that I could get the musician that is coming into my course, not just sort of information overload, but actually, how is this going to make a difference in your business? So I spent about 2 months just every day on the phone, Zoom calls, Skype calls to independent musicians saying, what are your biggest frustrations right now as an independent musician in the new music industry? And words like overwhelm came up a lot. Words like, I just don't know what to do next. Words like, I'm busy, but it doesn't seem to be like doing anything. How do I find my fans? How do I grow an audience? And I thought, well, I've done all of that. I can answer that. So then I created this course, which has 7 different topics. And at the moment, I'm teaching it over Zoom in very small groups. And we've just finished the first cohort. So the first cohort just gone through together with me.
Okay.
And so week 1, we focus on finding our fans. Like, how does that work? So I use Twitter as a starting base because I know how that platform works. The principles apply across platforms, but I just use Twitter because I know how that works. Then I talk about social media real estate. So when you've got these fans coming in, like, what do you do with them then? How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep the conversation going? Because a lot of people, I think they start in the morning with a blank piece of paper and go, right, what am I going to post now? So I talk about that. Week 3, we go through email goldmine. So if you don't have an email list or a mailing list as an independent musician, you need to get one. So I talk about how to set that up, what all the options are, and then we choose one that's the right one for you, and then also what to do, because a lot of the time musicians will say, oh yeah, I've got an email list, and I'll go, when did you last email your list? And they go, 2012. So it's about it's nurturing that relationship. And yeah, there are some amazing statistics about, as an independent musician, how of all your streams of revenue, where the biggest revenue comes from. And a lot of the time it is actually through email, because those people have already heard your music. They've had a chat with you somewhere. You've connected with them. You haven't been salesy or pushy. But then, they'll come into your email list, and those people they already know who you are. So they can't wait to open your next email and find out what's happening next.
Right.
And then over the next few weeks, I talk about live streaming, a whole lesson on monetization, a whole lesson on YouTube, and another lesson on Patreon as well.
Sounds really good. It sounds excellent. And I think at the moment you're taking calls through February to talk to people to see if this is the right thing for them. Exactly. And then if so, I think you're starting again in March.
Exactly right. Yeah, we're going to start the next round through on March. And then ultimately what I'm going to do is re-record all the lessons to kind of like bite size and host it online. So people won't need to talk to me at all. They can access it online, but just for this next go round.
Okay, right. Okay.
Personalized guidance from me, so I can.
So if people come back in the future, which we hope they will, then, and they're watching this then, and you've done the course, if they go via your website, presumably is probably the best way, or connect with you on Twitter.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll put all the links below, and then they can connect with you, because I think you've got, it's going to be. It sounds really, really useful. That now
No, go on.
Sorry. Oh, I've got so much to say. One of the things you mentioned there was your Patreon. So now you've got a Patreon account as well, and that's a good way of getting people to support you, but also to offer them extra. What do you do on your Patreon channel too?
I love Patreon. It has definitely, during times of pandemic, it has been a huge, not just help financially, but also just to connect with your super fans, which they are, like on a regular basis. So having this subscription model in your music business, I think, is amazing on so many levels. People often talk about Patreon as like a crowdfunding platform. It's not that, it's a subscription. So people are paying you like either a monthly amount to be part of your crew. And then what you would do is create different levels, and depending on how much they want to support you per month, they get different rewards for those things. So one thing I decided in my infinite wisdom at the beginning of 2020 was that I was going to write a new song every week and share it inside of Patreon, and that wouldn't be anywhere else. I wasn't going to release it anywhere else. Sometimes it was literally, and I kid you not, a demo on my phone. Like it was, if I was running short of time, I just had to, I had made that promise, that pledge
to do it.
do it. So even that, but you know what? The people who really love what you do, they don't care if it's on your phone. They don't care if it's, a fully produced thing or whatever. They just want to know, like, what's new and what have you got coming up next, like just the stream of content coming out and seeing sort of behind the scenes, how do you make this song. You could even do songwriting workshops, if you wanted to create a Patreon just on songwriting, and people come in, and so you can have a songwriting circle, all different kinds of things. So inside of my Patreon, last year I did a song every week. This year, we're going to focus a bit more on finalizing those songs, releasing them, bringing them to life. I'm also doing some underscoring as well, so I'll share any of that stuff, because underscoring is more when you create a piece of music to go either on a commercial or TV or whatever, and it's kind of the music that's constantly underlining the main event going on. So you don't want that music to be there's not too much.
It's not dominating. It's
exactly
not the thing. It's not the product, but it's the kind of part of the product.
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily want to release that music, because if it gets synced, then you might be in contracts where you can't do that. But I could share it inside of Patreon, so those guys get to see literally like everything that I make.
Wow, it sounds really cool. And you are doing all this, and you are homeschooling 2 children at the same time.
Yeah. The challenge. I'm not gonna lie.
This is the new normal. It's difficult, isn't it? But I mean, it's really good to talk to someone who's managing to find a way through this. It sounds really positive, everything you're doing. And so
if that is a message though for all other independent musicians who are saying, there's too much competition out there, I don't get any money from streaming, nobody's buying my music, I've got to tell you, honestly, there are more opportunities for independent musicians now with home recording gear than ever before in history of making music. So if you're not making money with your music, you're doing it wrong.
This is good. So all my videos are aimed at these people who are sort of thinking, well, what is a mic? How do I plug it in and all this? And then you've got some great content on that. Your YouTube channel, if people go, you've got all your live streams on there, and you've got the most gorgeous voice, lovely songs on there. Brilliant. You do covers, but you've written a lot of your own material as well. So there's loads and loads and loads of stuff there. We'll pop some links below to your channel, your website, your social, and if people want to sort of learn a bit more about how you have put this whole package together, they should definitely check you out in their favorite place. Yeah, it's brilliant.
My DMs are always open. I love helping other independent musicians.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Lyns, for talking to me. It's been really interesting. Good luck with the course and all your other ventures.
Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
No, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Well, I do hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please like the video. That really helps me out. As usual, if you have any comments or questions, do post them below. I love to read them all, and I'm sure Lyns will too. If you want more of my home recording studio tips and tricks, subscribe to my channel. And if you want to follow Lyns on her musical journey, then do subscribe to hers. Click the little bell to get notifications of new content. And most of all, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.